We are so glad you're with us here on this Monday. I'm Brooke Hash, and a special thanks to those of you watching us on our streaming platform, WHAS11+. Days after 3 people were gunned down outside of a DMV in Louisville, still no arrests. Eyewitnesses told us 2 men in masks are responsible for Friday's shooting. One man describing that moment in graphic detail.
2 masked men came from around the corner and then walked up to the guy that was laying on the ground and shot him in the stomach and the chest probably about 7 times. And then the taller of the 2 men shot him in the head at least 2 to 3 more times. And then they ran off.
That triple shooting happened just around noon outside the licensing office in Valley Station. An 18-year-old man died at the scene. 2 women were taken to the hospital where both died from their injuries. LMPD did not have a description of the vehicle and said investigators were still reviewing over surveillance video. If you know anything about this shooting, you are asked to contact that LMPD tip line at 574 LMPD. A man is dead after a shooting outside of a West Louisville Wendy's. It happened in the parking lot off 12th and Broadway around 11:30 last night. The victim was taken to U of L Hospital where he died. Police have not made any arrests. Again, if you know anything, there's always that anonymous tip line as well as the online portal. A man also facing charges in a deadly hit and run in Nelson County today. 48-year-old Jason Hamilton turned himself in on Saturday, hours after police say he hit and killed 20-year-old Amari Mays Clark. The crash happened around 11 p.m. Friday night. Mays Clark was standing outside of a car in the emergency lane of Bluegrass Parkway, while the driver, 20-year-old Nelson Pacheco, was changing a tire. Hamilton hit both Mays Clark and Pacheco. She died at the scene. Hamilton is currently in Nelson County Jail on $500,000 bond, facing multiple charges, including vehicular homicide while under the influence of alcohol. A woman in Louisville also died from a hit and run this weekend, this one in the California neighborhood. Police say it happened around 4 a.m. Saturday near 20th and Broadway, just a few blocks from Alberta Jones Park. Police said the woman was not in a crosswalk when she was hit. LMPD still looking for the driver. And right now, Metro Police are investigating a deadly motorcycle crash. We are told a man lost control of his bike on Applegate Lane in Highview Saturday. Police said he then crashed into a tree and died at the hospital. No one else was hurt in that crash. Today, a woman previously sentenced for her role in a murder received a new sentence ordered by the judge. Dakeisha West was set to serve 5 years for aiding in the 2021 shooting and robbery of Kyle Elzy in Linden. But West only served a day in jail because the judge had allowed the 3 years she spent on home incarceration awaiting trial to count as time served. Well, the victim's family immediately pushed back. The judge quickly vacated that sentence, and today West was sentenced to 5 years probation. If she commits any crime during that time, she could face 8 years behind bars. She also must complete assessments for mental health, drugs, alcohol, maintain a full-time employment, and acquire her GED. A man who police said went on a shooting spree in Radcliffe, Kentucky, is in jail and charged with attempted murder. 24-year-old Dante Patterson was arrested on Saturday. The Hardin County Sheriff's Office said the shootings took place off Braxton Court, Skyline Drive, Park Avenue, and Wood Creek Drive, all within a few miles of one another off South Dixie Boulevard. Police said one person was hurt but is expected to survive. Patterson's other charges include wanton endangerment and assault. According to his jail records, his bond is set at $500,000 cash. We've learned another person has died more than a week after severe weather hit Kentucky. The latest, a man out of Marshall County who died from hypothermia. Governor Andy Beshear said he's been talking with President Donald Trump about getting individual assistance from the federal government.
This has been a painful, difficult disaster. There aren't many natural disasters where we lose 22 people. First thing we're going to do is pay for every funeral so that no family has to worry about that when they've lost their family member through such a tragic occurrence.
Governor Beshear has also started a fund where people can donate to help victims from last week's storm. We have you linked up with that fundraiser on WHAS11.com. Meanwhile, state leaders say they are working on legislation to provide more funding for these victims. Administrators from FEMA are scheduled to tour the hardest hit areas tomorrow. A lot of heavy news to talk about in the last couple of minutes, Mallory. Thankfully, though, weather Are we looking a little bit lighter this week?
Oh, it's looking up. Yeah, a much quieter week of weather, thankfully, especially compared to last week and even the week before that, a lot milder as well. So you can see here in the Kentuckiana viewing area, no active flood warnings. That's all pushed downstream along the Ohio, closer to the Evansville metro there. So the Ohio River at downtown Louisville, the gauge here, you can see the big dip that we've seen over the last couple of days. So it did peak over 28 feet last week. And then over the weekend with quieter weather, it did drop below that flood stage by Sunday morning, and it's continued to recede from there. So we're down to 14 feet. That's about half of where it was last week, and it will continue to decrease close to that normal pool of 12 feet here. So we're taking a live look here from our Bachman Auto Group Galt House camera over downtown Louisville, more so over the Ohio River here, the 2nd Street Bridge as well. We have a lot of driftwood on Waterfront Park there, and that cleanup, it is underway in downtown Louisville along River Road. Right now, we're sitting in the lower 50s. Feels quite nice, especially with that filtered sunshine out there. I will say it's gusty. Those southwest winds, that's what's ushering in those warmer temperatures, sustained around 14 miles per hour, gust around 21. So expect a breezier day, but a warmer day. Temperatures all across Kentuckiana in the upper 40s and low 50s at this hour, and we are expecting partly sunny skies today. You can see high clouds continuing to filter in from the west and northwest. So expect more of that filtered sunshine. Clouds will thicken up more so this evening and into tonight. Highs today topping out several degrees above normal, and then tonight we are looking at overnight lows in the upper 30s and low 40s. We are staying mild this week, but we do have a few light rain chances. I'll be timing that out for you coming up in our 7-day forecast.
Mallory, thank you. The Donald Trump administration's freeze on federal funding is affecting scholarship availability for some students at Kentucky State University. USDA's 1890 Scholars Program currently suspended. Our Clary Shaley and photojournalist Aspen Hester explain its impact.
The Trump administration has frozen federal funding that stunts a program at Kentucky State University and HBCU. The USDA's 1890 National Scholars Program covers full tuition, room, and board for students pursuing degrees in agriculture, food, natural resource sciences, and other related fields. Kentucky State University is the only university in Kentucky that participates in the program. Raymond Burst serves as president of Louisville's NAACP chapter. He also served as president of the HBCU.
They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do and hopefully sort of soften the impact on students. But if you don't have the resources, some of those students who are very deserving individuals may be going home.
The scholarship program has been around for 30 years.
When I was at Kentucky State, in terms of students that were in the program, probably almost half of the students were in fact non-black students. I guess for the folks who put the freeze in place, they're probably thinking that they're in fact impacting African American students.
Kentucky State University responded with no comment to our request on how the institution plans to move forward with these students. Louisville Congressman Morgan McGarvey sees firsthand the impacts on his home.
They are cutting funding to education. They're cutting funding to workforce development. When what we know is we need to have an educated workforce to continue to keep America on top.
In Louisville, Clarice Shaley, WHAS11 on your side.
Kentucky State is one of 19 schools affected by the scholarship freeze, which has been challenged in court.